It's not Skype. It is an actual phone. Hello, Kelly.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Daniel Lott here from the Edge Television Broadcast. Do we have Michael on the line as well?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Mr. Hutt?
Oh, doing great, you guys. Man, it's so fun to have you guys on the program tonight.
We appreciate you having us.
We're very excited.
All right. Hey, man, sorry about the dog, though. That's sad.
Well, you know, cancer happens to so many people, and she was a big part of our lives, so.
Wow. Okay. All right, guys. Hey, you know what? We're going to be talking about the paranormal tonight. And Kelly, I guess I'll start with you. I guess you've named yourselves Phasma Paranormal. Where'd that title come from?
Phasma is Latin for ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a lot of Latin in high school, so that was kind of a language that was near and dear to me, and I wanted something unique that no one else has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's easy to remember because nobody else has it.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now, you know, Phasma is really close to Fatima, you know, kind of.
It is. You're right. I never thought of that before.
So I was just wondering if there was a connection there. So Michael, you have joined forces with Kelly to battle the undead, I guess, or to at least communicate with them. You guys believe, Michael, that the dead have a voice, and so are you guys providing a platform that the dead may speak?
Well, let me clarify that a little bit. When we say that the dead have a voice, not only do we mean like electronic voice phenomenon and things like that, ITC, but we also mean that they speak through their tombstones, their markers, things left behind at their graves, you know, memories of their loved ones and historical records. So, you know, when we say they have a voice, you know, we're not just talking about the paranormal. Mm-hmm. We walk through so many of these historical places and graveyards, and they all have such wonderful stories as hell.
Mm. When you say a marker, Michael, is that something that impregnates them to a certain location, that stations them at a location, or is marker just a passing by an event happened and they moved on type of thing?
Well, you know, some of these graveyards, we've seen markers that are like gigantic crypts, and then there's other places we go, you know, where there's just an old wooden plank out in the middle of the woods somewhere. And, you know, to us, you know, how they left their marker and, you know, the words that they put on it, even the ones that are unknown, you know, really kind of move us and speak to us, you know.
Kelly, when you've entered into an area with a marker, is there at any point that the area, the nuance, the feeling scares the crap out of you?
No. You know, I'm happy to say that we've never been anywhere where we were frightened. You can certainly feel when a spirit is present. There's been some times we've been creeped out, but we've never been frightened. We tell everyone we're more frightened of the living than the dead.
I'll tell you, man, that's right. That is right too. And a sad testament to that is there are some Christians that have made themselves the maniacs of the world and kind of given everyone of faith a bad name. I mean, you know, and unfortunately, and I'm not, I'm an equal opportunity beater downer, but a lot of times, man, Christians, and I'll go on to other groups here shortly too, so everybody hang on, but, you know, they just leave a bad taste in their mouth. They're the first ones to insult somebody or say they got a devil or, you know, they're going to burn in hell. And in their old life, they, you know, you never know what's in somebody's life. As far as I know, everybody's humans and they got things in their life that they may not want to be in public.
I agree, and we try to keep an open mind because we do realize that some of our clients aren't Christian. Mm-hmm. So we do try to keep that in mind. But having said that, we do bring our faith into all of our investigations in every way we can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Michael, tell us, how did you? I don't know if it was simultaneous to you and Kelly, but how did you start the whole Phasma Paranormal Investigative Group?
You want to take that one, Coach?
Yeah, we initially started watching the ghost hunting shows on television, and you know we had to know for sure what if we were seeing was real or if we were just seeing TV mumbo jumbo. Mm-hmm. So one early Saturday morning, we got a digital voice recorder and a cheap little camera, and we headed out to the closest local cemetery. We went to gravestones asking questions: how did you die? Do you know you're dead? That kind of thing. We felt like idiots. We got home. I plugged everything into the computer. He went and cut the grass. Within 5 minutes, we got an answer to one of the questions. We had asked a Civil War soldier, how did you die? And the answer was, somebody said fever. Mm-hmm. Here's the funny part of that story, or the amazing part. When I went to work on Monday, I told my friends about it. Well, it turned out that was a family cemetery of one of my friends. That was her great-great-great-grandfather, and he did, in fact, die from fever.
All right. Let's get right to a question. If you guys know the show enough, it'll be our questions come in through our Fast Blast. Mm-hmm. And also some people are putting them into our live chat where Jade is moderating right now. We got this from Doug White. He says, how many Civil War ghosts have you dealt with?
Oh, gosh, too many to count. I mean, we're in South Carolina. We investigate in Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. So, I mean, we're surrounded by Union and Confederate. I mean, we go to a lot of the national cemeteries, so they have soldiers from every single solitary conflict there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually had in a little local cemetery down here. We asked us standard questions. One of the questions I asked was, "What battle did you fight in?" And we actually got an EVP that said Chickamauga, which was really cool because there was a monument right there in the cemetery for that.
Okay, and so you do you hear that on electronic voice phenomena? Do you hear that only on gear, or have you ever heard anything audible?
Oh no, we've heard audible. I've been places, had my name called. Mm-hmm. I've had my arm touched. We've smelled cannon. You know, the gunpowder smell from cannons. It's very real. It's very hard to ignore when you've actually experienced it.
Kelly, you said that you bring your faith into that. What is your faith, and how do you bring that into that?
Well, my husband and I are both Catholic, so we do belong to several organizations that assist. You know, and should someone have any problems, especially demonic, mm-hmm. we do have members of the clergy that we can contact. We pray for the dead. We provide holy medals and prayers to anyone that needs them, and these have proved to be very useful in dealing with a lot of these spirits.
Well, that right there is going to send some people spiraling out of control
sure.
with rage, because one, there are those that emphatically believe that if you ever talk to the dead, that you are a necromancer, which is supposed to be, you know, like a vampire, you know, a demon or what yourself. And I'm wondering, how do you bridge the gap between those people that just use that as a hammer against you? Maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but I'm sure it's happening. How do you bridge that gap between the two views?
Yeah, we were really concerned when we first started doing this. You know, we didn't want to do something, and I'm aware of the passages in there, you know, about it's detestable to God to communicate with the dead. But in the same sense, you know, there's a verse that we have, 2 Maccabees 12:46, which says it's a wholesome thought to pray for the dead that they'll be loosed from their sins. So, and we talked to a local priest, and, you know, we were wondering, is this something evil? And, you know, he told us some things to do that would clarify if it was evil. So we just felt like if there are souls out there, and we try to always constantly make sure we don't gain anything from it, we don't charge, we're not trying to get lottery numbers from people, we're not trying to, you know, figure out who the next president's going to be. But, you know, we're very careful to make sure that everything we do, you know, to glorify God. And we're constantly saying, what's your will in this? Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're just really careful. And God wouldn't permit, and everybody you talk to has some kind of ghost story. And I don't think God would permit these things if they were all evil. We know stories in the Bible where he actually allowed things to happen to increase people's faith. So that's one of the things we try to focus on, is maybe bringing some unbelievers back to believing again.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to this question from the Fast Blast. This is from Philip in Georgia. He says, have you ever been to Andersonville, Georgia?
No, we have not, although that's shortly on the short list, along with Gettysburg and a few other places. Andersonville would have to be very active. We do have a place here that's similar that many people may not know about. It's a small place in Florence, South Carolina, where there were thousands of Yankee soldiers held, and a lot of them died up there, and it is pretty active at this small location.
Now, I've heard from a number of people that you can hear gunshots at Gettysburg. What have you guys heard there?
Well, we haven't been to Gettysburg, but we have been to a Revolutionary War battlefield here in South Carolina, and we have heard gunshots. We've smelled the gunpowder, so I have no doubt that Gettysburg, probably has similar, if not more, activity to it. I mean, so many people died in such a short period of time.
Well, when you said that you're more scared of the living, that is such a truism there, especially say if you're a Parisian, or a resident of Orlando. But right now, and speaking of, because we're talking about Gettysburg just a tad bit there, obviously based on the Civil War, but man, there's some rumblings in this country. Not to get too political here, but there just seems to be a division that's growing. I don't know if the Union soldiers and the Confederate soldiers are going to rise up and sort of spiritually fight another battle. I don't know.
We always joke around, Mr. Ott. We always say we wish we could go back in time and let both those soldiers, the Union and Confederate, see how things are today. And I wonder how many minds it would change back in those days.
Well, now here's a thought. There's over time, I've got some emails questioning the guests that I've had on, because they bring ideas and information or experiences that vary from, say, the writers to me, and indicate a lot of vitriol there. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute now. And even my YouTube channel, where there will be a guest, you can go through some of the comments and you'll see somebody just excoriate the guest and claim they have the truth, and write massive amounts of data and information and references why they have the truth. And I'm thinking, well, how is it you're so evil and have so much hate in your heart towards somebody else? Is that what you get when you get the knowledge? You get to stand on a high place and belittle everyone and insult everyone beneath you that you feel is beneath you? Where is the love in that? I don't know that, talk about the Corinthians love, it says, your voice is like a tinkling cymbal. You can't make no sense of it because there's so much hate, though you claim to have all knowledge.
Yeah, we definitely see that. We were just, we get the comments, from people, and I'm right there with you. We just had one we're responding to earlier today, and I don't know where it comes from. We try to always keep a positive outlook, and we don't try to push anything on anybody. But we, in the same sense, we feel like we're doing some kind of good, and God's leading us in this way.
Well, see, I think it makes people uncomfortable, because if you start to believe in the paranormal, then that makes you start questioning what really happens after you die, and then that makes you in turn start questioning God. And if you don't believe in God, and then all of a sudden all these things are being thrown at you, then you have to start realizing that everything you thought was true isn't.
Well, see, that's kind of a battle that I see play out on this program so many times. And I've my little thing in life is to try to sort of, I mentioned bridging the gap, to sort of bridge the gap between those that say, they'll say, well, God says you can't do this, and God says you can't do that. But there's another group that's going to say, well, God says you can't do this, and God says you can't do that. I notice that whatever a person believes is what they ascribe God to believe. And I've heard it say with music, where somebody will say, well, God really loves Southern gospel. And it just so happens the person saying that really loves Southern gospel. And then another person will say, well, God really loves today's rock and roll with Christian rock and roll because it's so relatable to the kids, and God loves that. And they just happen to like that, So when we ascribe what God says you can do and what you can't do, and then put a line there and say, this is the line, and I see you cross it, they need to make sure that line really hasn't moved, because sometimes as we sort of grow in our faith, that line does kind of move. And you could say that the earlier moments, maybe boot camp, moving you to a higher spiritual level that God really wants us to attain. In the end, it's summed up in two things. One, to love the Lord thy God with all the heart, mind, soul, and body. And two, to love thy neighbor as thyself. And if you're not doing that when you are not doing that when you're excoriating or belittling or insulting somebody who has a different point of view.
Sure. And it's, we always, whatever we do, we always try to say, if it's your will, Lord, and we try to leave it at that. But it's, I know what you're saying. And it's definitely a tough thing to deal with. It really is.
Okay. All right, guys. So you've got the Phasma Paranormal. Now I see on your website you guys actually put your phone number there, and people they call you if they have ghost activity, or why would they call you?
Oh, we get all kinds of calls. I mean, most of them are ghosts or something weird going on in the home. Although we do get the wackos. We had a guy call one time and said that he had a ghost in his house that was stealing his left sock and changing the ringtone on his phone.
You know what most people really call for when you get right down to it is they just want to tell somebody their story. They had something horrifying happen to them, something life-changing, and they just want someone to listen to them without making a judgment. And to them, that's a comfort. So we provide that comfort at least.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have this question from the live chat from put Yahweh First, his avatar name. It says, do you think some of the gun sounds that people hear are from time slips?
No, I really attribute a lot of that to what's called the stone tape theory. It basically means, these events are so traumatic or so incredibly loud that, the energy from them are absorbed by the ground or buildings or what have you and just replayed. Mm-hmm. These are what we call residual. They just go on and on and on like a movie. You can't interact with them and they can't interact with you. Mm-hmm. Although there are some in the paranormal who talk about alternate universes, time travelers. The truth of it all comes down to the fact that we won't know until we take that final step ourselves, and then maybe, these mysteries will be shown to us.
Mm-hmm. There's and I guess I could quote the Bible more. I mean, I'm not an expert in the Maccabees, so I can't really reference that. So I'll defer to you guys on that. But there's a story that says there's a guy in hell, and he's talking to somebody in heaven, and said that you can't go there, and I can't go down there, but yet they're having a conversation. So. Did they violate the prime directive that thou shalt not talk to the dead? Because one person was evidently dead in hell, but there's a conversation going on there, isn't there?
Sure, and the problem is, when we're the finite and we're trying to conceive God, our supreme being who's infinite, I mean, it's very difficult for us to perceive that. And there are certain mysteries that human beings just aren't going to see because we're just not that mighty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let me give you another one. And these are just little mind blowers to consider. Jesus is standing outside of the tomb of Lazarus, and he calls the dead. He talks to the dead. Now, a lot of people consider Jesus a representative of, a role model, somebody to believe in and to emulate. And he's talking to the dead. So, when it says in the Old Testament what you should do and what you should not do, they should also understand that the Old Testament is to establish rules that cannot be achieved humanly that require the interdiction of a supernatural being who is found in the New Testament by the name of Jesus. Just throwing that out there for food for thought. Does anybody agree with that in the live chat? Or am I going to burn in hell? Let me know. There's really...
We believe that they have rules. I mean, we've definitely seen that. We ask certain questions, and we've never received answers. So I think they do.
But I think all things are possible with God, too. We can't fathom his mind. I mean, sure enough, if he wanted to, he could let people come back to serve his purpose for a greater good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What's the Well, Kelly, you said that you've never been scared in any event. Now, look, the people that watch this show for a long time have heard my stories. I have, I don't know what the word would be, engaged in supernatural. I've been in supernatural places, really thin places, what I call them, and I've seen ghost activity. So I've got some experience in the matter, and I'm still here. I'm not going to burn in hell. I'm quite confident of that. So I've got my ghost stories, but I've been some hair raising situations. Now, Kelly, you say that you haven't been. Is that because you are so convinced that no paranormal entity would, man, if somebody touched me, okay, I'm going to freak out a little. There's going to be some freak out there. But evidently you're so strong that you won't freak out. You think, well, this is great. We're making progress?
Well, let me qualify that by saying, like I said, there was a few times we were startled or creeped out. But, I mean, we've been in the bowels of battleships and in haunted jails and all kinds of places. And I just don't really feel the fear. I mean, I look at it this way, and maybe it's a little arrogant, but I look at it this way. I'm the daughter of Eve. I carry blessed metals on me. I always have my cross around my neck. Mm-hmm. I walk with Mary and Jesus, and I don't really fear the dead. Mm-hmm. I haven't run across anything that I needed to fear yet.
Mm-hmm. Addressing a comment in the live chat. I'm going to address that here in just a second. Me too. I see you out there wrote in the live chat. It says Jesus literally healed Lazarus. He wasn't technically dead, but he was raised. But I believe it says raised from the dead, and they were the disciples said, "Lord, by now he stinketh because he's been dead for 3 days." Well, sleeping, I don't think really allows a person to have the smell of death on him. I don't know about that. All right, let's go to this question here from Curious out of live chat. It says, has any entity ever spoken about reincarnation to you guys?
Not that I know of. Michael, what about you?
No, I don't think I've ever. I don't think we've ever encountered anything with that topic.
Mm-hmm. What is the most curious thing that you guys have heard from the dead?
Oh Lord, probably we were actually at a very old Indian mound, and we asked one of our standard questions is, how do you see us? We're trying to figure all this out, and this is the only time it was ever answered. They told us in red and green. And the reason why this is so curious is because those are the two colors of the IR. Mm-hmm. So we think they see us kind of the same way that we're able to peer into their world with our IR cameras, our infrared.
Mm-hmm. And we were also in a local cemetery here, and we look at the various tombstones, and we kind of look at ourselves as, chronicles of the stones, and we like to take pictures and keep them. And one of the stones had a symbol on there that we hadn't seen before, and Kelly was saying, "Oh, we're going to go home, we're going to Google it." And we actually got an EVP that this voice saying, "You're not going to find it on Google. You're not going to find it on Google." And it sounded so upset. And I thought, oh, that's crazy. So does this dead know about Google?
Hey, man, question. Do the dead play Pokemon Go?
I certainly hope not, or we may have to stop doing what we're doing.
I know some people joined the dead by playing Pokemon Go, running out in the
Get
traffic.
there.
Exactly.
So anyway, all right.
We do not play Pokemon Go, I can tell you that.
You do not?
No.
Okay. Do you use the Ouija board?
No, never.
Tarot cards?
No.
See, what else we got? What else out there? Okay. Do you? What else? What else is there? I don't know.
A lot of those things are meant for material gain, and that's why we're really careful. Because we're aware of the passage that people say, you shouldn't divine and you shouldn't consult mediums and whatnot. But we're really careful not to have any kind of material gain in this whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Interesting comment coming out. I just saw looking over the live chat. The truck. It's interesting. Somehow politics kind of makes its way in whatever topic is on this program. But the Democrats say that a truck killed, 100 people there in France. Of course, everybody knows it wasn't the truck and it wasn't a gun, so that made the liberals mad because they want to ban guns. So now I guess they got to ban trucks. But what I'm saying is, and not to belittle this point here or to make light of it, but that was a massacre similar to the Orlando thing. Would that area with all that death and carnage, and or the Orlando murder scene with all the death at a single place, would those be considered? You think they would be haunted?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've always wanted to go to scenes like that because you think of all these individuals that die so suddenly, and what if they had one final thing that they wanted to say to their loved ones, and they left without saying that? So we've always been interested in those sites.
Well, and not just that. We've found, especially on some of the World War II era battleships that we've been on, and we've actually made contact, some of these entities, and it's heart-wrenchingly sad that some of these entities don't know they're dead. We'll say, do you know you're dead? And we actually got one said, no, alive. Mm-hmm. And I mean to tell you, it about broke my heart.
Mm-hmm. Is that sort of like that movie that Nicole Kidman did where she and her two children were dead in a house, and they were the last ones to know they were dead?
Possibly, yeah.
I think that's similar, yeah.
I mean, it's heart-wrenching when you're sitting in a World War II battleship and you're having this conversation with this entity who's been dead for 60 years or more, and it doesn't know that it's dead. He mm-hmm. literally did not know. You could hear the tone in the voice. No, alive. It was very, very forceful. No, alive.
Yeah, and that movie was, of course, called The Others. But that was a very interesting movie because the way they made it was that the viewer did not know they were really dead till way late in the show, and so they did an excellent job with that. But that seems to be a common thread that the dead sometimes hang around. Then I've heard people say that there are also people or entities, whether be it angelic beings or angels or something, that escort them and come to them and explain to them that it's time to go, and they had explained to them that they're dead and they've got to go. Have you met any of those people?
No, we haven't come across any angels, at least that we know of. The way it was explained to us when we talked to the priest before we got started with all this, we asked him what these things are, and we were told that just because you can go to heaven doesn't mean you have to. So these people are attached to a person, place, or thing, and they're sticking around for a reason. We just don't know what that reason is.
Mm-hmm. Now that goes into near-death experiences. Many people claim that they go to the other side and they're informed that they have more things to do on this earth. Is it possible that they have the dead have went and had that conversation and are coming back and maybe eventually come back like to life?
I don't know. It's again, I think it comes in to the area where, here we are trying to conceive the infinite, the mighty, the greatness of God, and here we are just like a speck of dust trying to conceive that. We know that you're either living or you're dead, but we also know there's a judgment day. So where do they go? When you die, do you go directly to heaven? Do you go directly to hell? It doesn't seem like it if there's a judgment day. So I think it all plays into God being timeless. He's outside of time. He's neither past, present, or future, and probably all of them at once. Mm-hmm. So it's mind-boggling, really.
The biblical text seems to be written in a way that would address multitudes of people, billions of people through the eons of time. So therefore, the meanings of different things to different people are all in there, and I think that's why people get different views of it, because there's a revelatory part of it where the Spirit of God would interpret it for you or apply it to your life in such a way. And then there are those that believe there's a code in the Bible, that it's multi-layered, and people have gotten things from that. So it seems to be that it's much bigger than the words on the page. And so therefore, then, as you say, and even the Bible says that if all the things Jesus had done been written, the world could not contain the book. So it seems like it's larger, that is a message, and it is information that God wants us to have. But there's also something else that God gives us. He's asked us to search matters out. He's asked us to use our intellect and our emotions and all the functions that He's given us to enjoy and to investigate the wonderful world that He has created. And I think once a person does that, they always come back to God if their heart is pure in the matter.
Sure, and that's where the term Holy Ghost comes from. I know, but probably the skeptics don't believe in that. Okay. Wow. Okay.
And let's go to this. Guest 572 out of the live chat says, have you ever looked at any of Russ Dizdar's YouTube videos?
No, I don't know who that is.
Okay. Well, he deals in mainly his area. You know, you guys have one, I have one. The people out there in live chat do, and the people watching the show do. And his is the Black Awakening. It's that he believes that there is a time when some code message is going to go out and entities are going to rise. It's pretty dark, and I guess that's why it's called the Dark Awakening, because what he says is pretty dark. Let's go to this question from John in Louisiana. This is from the Fast Blast. It says, have you ever experienced something that you felt was truly evil?
No. We've been called to several locations to investigate purported demonic activity, and it seems as though every time we're called, something always interferes, or I guess as the case probably is, intercedes. Mm-hmm. We've been kept from 3 or 4 demonic investigations that we were very certain were demons. We have felt things that were what I refer to as naughty. They try to scare you or try to, they want to see you run away. A lot of the guys at the Old City Jail in Charleston, where 14,000 people died, a lot of them love to try to intimidate. And you know, if you show any fear to these things when they're like that, they will hurt you. Mm. There's people pushed, choked, scratched, all kinds of stuff. Some professional ghost hunters from one of the TV shows we won't name actually ran out of there in fear because of what happened in that jail. Mm-hmm.
So then is it that you guys feel either a divine protection or a certain leading into the locations or the events that are happening on a more kinder and gentler paranormal activity?
I think a lot of it, and this is just my opinion, but I think a lot of it is the fact that we entered these locations with a respectful attitude. I always try to remember, no matter what they may have done in life, these are still somebody's sons or daughters or grandmothers or fathers. So we don't, you see on TV show where they go in and they're screaming and provoking. We don't do that. And I think that makes a big difference. Plus, I want to believe that these entities know that we're there for a pure reason. We're not there because we want a TV show. We're not there because we're trying to make money or do anything. We're not trying to, take advantage of them. We're there to truly communicate with them and try to tell their story.
Now, have you communicated to them information?
Probably. I mean, so I think sometimes when we tell them, do you know that the war's over, or do you know such and such has happened, I think sometimes they really are truly shocked. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We have this question from Philip in Georgia. Have you ever helped the police solve any crimes?
No. In my regular job, I do work, with law enforcement, and the paranormal, I don't think would really be accepted in a court of law. Although if they called on us, we would be there to help in a heartbeat. We support our law enforcement officers.
But we have some high-profile murders that have happened here, and we have visited the sites, but it's just too personal, and we actually drive on the same streets and work with these people, and we just don't want to cause any, sadness.
Yeah. Well, during the Clinton era, there was a guy named Ron Brown, who was associated with the Clintons. He died in a mysterious plane crash. Well,
I remember that.
Well, yeah, and I contacted him after he was dead, and he said yes. In fact, he was shot in the head before he crashed.
Oh, wow.
Seems logical.
Well, okay. Like Mike was saying, we've had several very high-profile murders here, mm-hmm. and we went to one of the locations where the person was seen last, and we did get some interesting information. Mm-hmm. But there was nothing there that would have assisted law enforcement. Basically, she didn't seem to know what happened to her either.
But it is a fact that police agencies have used, and maybe not in your guys' genre, but they've used mediums or some mm-hmm. or some people to solve crimes, have they not?
We've heard of some cases where they actually have, yes. And we would love to assist if we were ever called upon. Absolutely, we would be more than happy to do whatever they needed us to do.
During your guys' investigation, have you seen, besides the audible, have you seen activities such as books levitating or windows opening or lights going off?
Yes, absolutely. We were in the Old City Jail. Actually, it was on the eve of Easter, and we were sitting there with one of the ladies from the company that owns the facility or runs the facility. And while we were sitting there, a big, heavy door that had been propped open closed by itself. Now, that in itself could be explained away, so we went and sat in the room. We witnessed the door shut 2 more times by itself, and then a little later in the evening, we actually witnessed the door open completely by itself.
Wow. Well, then, as a segue into one of my events, I went to a house that was haunted, and I was part of the house cleansing group. It was me and my 2 sons, and we were cleansing this house. And we were at the top of the stairs, and man, the bathroom door slammed so hard, I thought it was going to come off the hinges, and the people in the house went running down the stairs and out into the street. So I've seen that firsthand. Mm-hmm. What do you think energizes where do they get the energy to slam doors?
I really think they feed off of human energy, because there are times when we're on 2 and 3 investigations, we'll come home at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and be absolutely exhausted and feel like we've been up all night.
So you feel like they are draining energy from you?
Mm-hmm. I really believe they feed off us. I really do. And I know they feed off of our electronic equipment, because we take copious amount of time charging all of our equipment. And there are certain pieces of equipment we'll come home, mm-hmm. and I mean, it didn't last an hour, and it should have lasted 4.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I shared this little story, but I know the longtime viewers have heard me talk about some of my graveyard, dare I say, adventures. I really don't have a title for them, just I was there. But again, I was with my sons there, and they had candy locked up in the back, as most young men do, copious amounts of candy, and it was in the back of their truck, and it was locked up while we were walking around in the graveyard. We came back, and there were 2 small handprints on the window.
Oh, neat.
We were the only one there, and it's like, that has to be answered. It's kind of like UFOs. Somebody's got to quit saying, a swamp gas and all the goofy stuff, and or that Islamic terrorists really don't exist. People have, there's got to be something there.
Sure, and everybody's got so many stories. That's part of the reason why we're fascinated by it, is because the stories we hear from people that we investigate with and people that call us, it's just fascinating to hear what they have to tell us.
Mm-hmm. Did you detect on anybody? Now, you mentioned that you're obviously going to get some people that may not all be there, but then there are those that you are absolutely convinced they saw things, and is it that because the world itself, and even in religious institutions, don't assist in those matters, that they consider them evil to begin with, and if you got some evil in your, what they consider evil, that they don't want to talk to you anyway, and though it seems to be their job. I don't even get that. And I've heard preachers subscribe medication to people whose houses are haunted because they think, well, they must be insane, so therefore you need to go get some medication. But it seems to me their job is to cast out devils and do various things that have a supernatural thing to it, and because they really don't involve themselves in supernatural stuff, they're having to bean suppers all the time, and I don't know how supernatural that is. But so they just poo-poo it and say, go take some medication.
Absolutely. We've seen that quite a bit. In fact, they say the biggest trick the devil ever played on humanity was to convince them that he didn't exist. Mm-hmm. We see the same thing, and it has to deal with this modern world. It seems like they get more and more away from it because they don't want to offend people. They don't want to scare people. Those are considered negatives. That religion always has to be something positive. But there are some things out there. If you're Christian, you just can't. They're harsh, and you have to deal with those realities.
Hmm. Well, at least they should have the answers. Okay, telling somebody they need some good drugs is not really an answer. It's going to help anybody. All right, here's a question from Cleet. I believe this is out of the live chat. It says, "Can any of us recreate your experiences if we tried?"
Absolutely. I mean, you can take, these days every smartphone has a voice recorder app on it. Just take it to the cemetery and just ask questions. But as I caution Cleet, when you go to leave, make sure you tell them that they're not welcome to follow you home, or they very well may. And then you'll need to call us to come investigate your house.
Yeah. And we also recommend that people have a real solid faith, that you're really solid in your religious belief, because if you go into it, you don't want to go into it if you've got doubts on where you stand in your religion. I just think that's, opening the door for negative things to manipulate you.
Question from old guy out of the live chat. Have you guys ever conversed with anyone famous?
Melvin Purvis.
There you go. What was the one in Bonaventure, Mike?
Moon River. Johnny Mathis.
No, Johnny Mercer.
Johnny Mercer, that's it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
lots of Civil War generals, lots of South Carolina politicians.
Yeah, Melvin Purvis was the FBI agent responsible for bringing down John Dillinger. And we were using an Ovilus device, which is a database that's in tune to energy, and we actually got the name Herman on there. When I came home and Googled it, Herman was the first name of one of his agents that supposedly took the shot on John Dillinger. And there's a lot of controversy about Melvin Purvis. A lot of people say that he committed suicide. The people of Florence, South Carolina, feel like that it was actually a cover-up with Hoover, because Hoover was such a egomaniac and he didn't like sharing the limelight with them. So.
Does it always take a huge event, say like the USS Arizona, where I guess there may be still be bones in that ship, I don't know, but I mean, on that scale, we mentioned the Paris attacks and Orlando, and on we could go. Does it come down, and those seem like major points in time where the loss of life is so egregious, but what about down to, say, a single death? Does that have the same kind of power to leave a residual image?
Yeah.
Some of the most talkative spirits we've actually encountered are in some very rural cemeteries that people have obviously forgotten, and they want to tell their name. They want to say some words, that they remember in life, so they can communicate and they do want to talk.
Mm-hmm. If one of these now, do you refer to the people that you've heard their voice and various things? Do you refer to them as dead people, dead entities, ghosts? What do you guys refer to them as?
Go ahead, Mike.
Amongst ourselves, we call them the dead. But if we get a name from them, then we'll call them by their name.
Is it possible that any of these people, and then I guess is people a word? I mean, in the popular definition, there's an organic entity walking around, but I mean, are they considered people if they are disembodied?
That's a good question. I
think so, because it's soul that is part of what makes a person. It's one of the most important parts.
And there's scientific proof that there is a change in the body of someone that dies. There's a certain weight loss that occurs. Now, some of that's probably moisture and fluids and such, but there's too many pictures and too many people that have seen the soul actually leave the body. Like the famous one that's been circulating around of the motorcycle crash recently. We've even had some of the priests that we deal with weigh in on that. They believe that it's the soul leaving the body.
Was that a video or a still picture? Seems like we just looked that up.
I think it was kind of both.
All right, well,
I think I've seen some that were still and some that was a video.
All right. Well, some of our astute viewers in the live chat, go grab a picture and put it up in there, and we'll take a look at that. Yeah, I've seen that. And, of course, there was that movie that was called 23 Grams, and I think it was based on the fact that a body loses 23 grams at the point of death, and people have speculated that's the soul, but you would think they really wouldn't have any weight. So you have that, but there have been a lot of people that are convinced that during the time of death there's something going on, that if you look close enough, or you can either see the spirit leaving the body. And I've had many people I've had guests on the show that said they've seen the sister, and I mentioned the sister person to lead them to the next life. I don't know what the word would be, but they have seen somebody made a whole book reference and research out of the amount of people that had people show up in the area, like in the operating room and on the deathbed, and move them out. So now, why would somebody want to hang around here if they had a choice to go anyway?
Well, that's a good question. That's the real question. I mean, imagine if you suddenly die in an automobile accident on the way home, and you don't have the chance to tell your wife that you love her, or you don't have the chance to tell her that the winning lottery ticket is in your jeans pocket hanging on the dresser. I mean, imagine there's things that you didn't get to do or say, or imagine that you don't know that you're dead. Mm-hmm. Then you would still hang around because you don't know, or you don't want to leave somebody here. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why a spirit would stick around. We just don't know what they all are. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things we're trying to determine.
Some of them might be afraid to move on. I mean, it must be a horrifying thing to realize, you're transitioning from something you've known and into the unknown. It's got to be terrifying. And some of them may just cling, fearful to move into that next area they're going.
It could be because they know that their life sucked and they done some things they may send them to the hot place. Well, listen, Kelly and Michael Broski, we're at the top of the hour here. We take a 5-minute break, so just stay on the Newsmaker line. But before we go to our 5-minute break, what do you have to say about your website and why would people want to get in touch with you? Go ahead and take that time right now.
Well, you can go to www.phasmaparanormal.com. We have prayers on there that you can print out. We have our videos. We have our audio files. We have a way for you to contact us. And that's just a way to contact us if you just want to tell us your story, if you have questions, or if you need us to come investigate.
Okay. All right, just stay right there. We'll be back with you in 5 minutes. Don't hang up.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you.
All right. All right, everybody, you're listening to or watching the Edge television broadcast on our Newsmaker line. Tonight is Kelly and Michael Broski all the way from Conway, South Carolina. If you missed any of this exciting broadcast and informational show, it will begin to replay in our main player directly after the program. We'll extract the high-definition video, put it in our YouTube player, and in our TuneIn Radio queue, where you can listen to the Edge across any platform, any device. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Edge television broadcast. Tonight we have on our Newsmaker line all the way from Conway, South Carolina, we have Kelly and Michael Broski. Kelly and Michael, welcome back to the program.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Well, I tell you what, we left off in the first hour talking about why somebody would hang around this world with the death and carnage going all around us. And perhaps maybe your guys' part in figuring this. And, really life is a journey. And I think everyone would agree with that basic premise. But it's also, it's a journey of discovery. And each of us are given roads or paths. It seems like sometimes they're directed, and the people that maybe watch the program that say, you guys shouldn't be doing what you're doing, maybe they need to walk in your shoes, and maybe they would see a road there that led you guys to that area, and then those people that would make that comment, they had their own road that leads them into their area. So do you guys felt, I think we've discussed this a little bit, you guys felt like you were sort of led into this. And so one of the purposes, do you think, might be for your quest here, your discovery, your quest for knowledge and discovery, is that you would maybe come up with some answers as to why things are what they are, or what the next life has in store for us?
Well, that, and I really believe it's to remember the dead, which, the Bible does speak about remembering the dead. So many of these graveyards we go to, you can tell these graves have not been visited, or these people maybe haven't been thought of in a long time. Mm-hmm. So we try to pray for these souls. And we also hope to bring more people to the belief of in love of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, something you said, Mr. Ott, that was so important was the journey. And that's the thing about this. The ghost, the spirits are the end thing, but along this trip that we've taken, we have met so many interesting people. We've been to so many fascinating places. We've seen so many graves of wonderful, amazing human beings who are basically forgotten in these cemeteries and the dusty old corners. And it really has been a journey. And ultimately, this last year, it's actually led us to become part of an investigative team for exorcisms. So they would call on us to go in for people who are saying they're possessed, and we would just collect evidence to give the clergy to come in and do it. So it really has felt like a journey and a calling for us.
You said something in the first hour talking about that sounds get trapped in rocks in the ground because vibration doesn't stop. But there's also something out there, some discovery that was made not too long ago, that the memories of the planet is been found in water. Have you guys brushed upon that topic or heard about it?
I haven't really noticed it in our investigations, but it makes complete sense because there are a lot of teachings throughout history about water being a conductor, not just of electricity, but of other things as well. So it would make sense.
There is something known as, say, the water of life. That water it doesn't really go away. It no matter what form, it comes back. By the way, I've got that. Somebody sent me that picture. Let me see if I can pop it into the show here in our background here. See if I can get that in here. It is that picture of the motorcycle we were talking about here. Let me see about getting that on here. Here it is right here. See, there it is right there. Okay, I'll get out of the way. All right, so somebody sent me this picture there that of the two ambulances and what appears to be a figure of a man rising upwards from the departed. That's not the only picture out there.
No, there's tons of pictures like that.
So that being the case, there is a body of evidence out there that if you're at the right place at the right time, you can actually see what's going on.
That's what we like to believe. I mean, we've probably been to thousands of locations. I've got 3 hard drives with probably 10 or 15 terabytes full of videos and pictures, and there are very few of them that have some type of paranormal evidence on it. And a lot of it's questionable. We throw out far more than we ever post.
If we were to look at this picture that we're seeing on the screen here of this body, then that means there's to capture it on film means there has to be a density to the thing. And of course, most people would say that the spirit of a person is not made up of organic material or any other kind of material, probably more or less an invisible type of thing, maybe plasma or something, but there's clearly something of measurable something rising from that body. Wouldn't that mean that's really not the spirit, or is it that the camera lens can capture an invisible spirit?
That's a good question, and that's something we don't know.
It's extremely rare to catch formed figures such as that. We've seen lots of these pictures, and people ask us to weigh in on them. There's things you can do. You can zoom in and play with some of the editing software to add a little fill to it and try to bring it out. One of the first things we always check is the motive of the person, and this seems like, in this case, it was somebody just legitimately taking a picture of an accident scene. They weren't out hunting for anything, and these are the ones that really cause us to pause a little bit more. It adds credibility to it. It's something that was accidentally caught, and somebody put it out there not to grab attention.
That's the way I like to I think you're right. That does add credence to the situation. Whether, say, somebody was, there have been Bigfoot hunters that are so enamored by it. I think they literally create. They go buy a Bigfoot suit. They have to have a picture. You know what I'm saying? They're looking for it, and they display it for years. And if they don't get something, they eventually just give up and make something up. So, of course, that ruins their credibility when they get caught doing that. So I agree with you from that standpoint. Here's a question for you on a sort of a different tie-in. We're talking about talking to those that have departed this organic life plane dimension. What about pets? Have you guys heard any animals barking out there in the middle of the night?
Well, yes, it's, I used to have ferrets, and several of my ferrets passed away to cancer, which they're very susceptible to. And we actually, both my husband and I wish I had a Guinness too, my husband and I both have heard them rumbling around the house. My aunt lost her German Shepherd, and the German Shepherd actually came back to both my aunt and uncle later on. We've talked to multiple clients who've had pets return, so I do believe that that does happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've heard EVPs of horses on Camden Battlefield. We've heard cats meow in homes when there aren't any cats there, but there's been a history of cats. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely something going on with animals and spirits too.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly the Indians believe that, and I don't subscribe that to the idea that Indians were stupid. I think my viewpoint of Indians were until the white man came and ruined their life, that they were in touch with the spiritual side of life, and they saw that as an integral part. It was woven into their life, where you come in today's crap style lifestyle of most people, like we were talking about in the first hour, Pokemon Go. Are you kidding me? People walking around like zombies just looking for invisible things that don't exist, and then they high-five them when they catch a picture of something that's not even there. It's like, man, what did your life, is that it? Is that the sum of your life? So, so they're never, that person, forget spirituality, man. They're in virtual reality, which doesn't exist, where at least in the spiritual realm, that is a literal place that so many and billions of people and civilizations over the eons of time have said does exist in one form or another.
Sure, we have Native American friends, and they just accept it, as everyday life. And there are lots of cultures that, they find it difficult to believe when we're so fascinated with it, because it's every part of their daily lives. They just know they're there.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as animals go, I was being, this isn't like a dead story, but I had these little ground squirrels, man. They were tearing up my garden, so I didn't want to kill them, so I would trap them and then take them about 4 miles away to a park, and then some more would appear. I'm thinking, wait a minute, now, is that the same one? So one of them, or actually a couple of them, I don't even know if this is legal, man. I don't think it's animal torture, so I don't want to hear it from people out there. But I did spray paint. You talk about markers. Okay, this is a marker. I spray painted it in purple, and then I took them out to the park. So I'm waiting to see if I'm going to see any purple ground squirrels come my way. That's just kind of an aside there, but
they won't forget the Cosmic Cowboy, will they?
No. Well, kind of favor to the color purple, but which is interesting. Now I'm going to segue right into a really nasty political thing, man. The White House was when the White House was colorized with lights of the rainbow when the Supreme Court ordered gay marriage to be legal, and then they turned a light purple when Prince died. But when the officers were killed in California, or is it California where they were just killed at? That was
Dallas.
Texas. Yeah.
Dallas, yeah. I noticed that they didn't turn the blue lights on the White House there. So.
Yeah, it's disgraceful.
Yeah. It is disgraceful.
Yeah, no blue lights for the officers killed. But if you're Prince, and you're on some kind of dope, and you do crotch grabbing videos, you get all kinds of FaceTime over there. So, but now here's another question, and it was put by Yahweh, put Yahweh first out of the live chat too, kind of segueing off whether or not you guys communicated with or have heard animal activity from the other side. But do you think animals have spirits?
Yes, I do. I really do. I mean, you can't live with animals and not see it for yourself. I mean, I believe, especially dogs, were sent to us to teach us how to love each other. Mm-hmm. And if we were more like dogs, the world would be a better place.
I know, and I think anybody who's ever had a dog will tell you they have sort of they're emblematic of unconditional love, man. I mean, you can smack them right in the mouth, and they'll look at you and say, "I'm sorry. Can we be friends again?"
Exactly.
And if unconditional love is not a part of God, I don't know what is.
So. Well, isn't it interesting that humans have to be taught that? From animals?
It is. I mean, we're too caught up in so many other things that we forget the really important things, I think.
Well, what can the animals teach us? Well, I know one thing: the otters can teach us something too, because they hold hands when they're in the water, so they don't float away from each other.
That is the cutest thing ever.
And in fact, Susan subscribes to the Otter channel because she loves to see those videos, man. I mean, just anytime there's an otter, I think there's an otter Twitter account out there, man. So when Otter's up to something, we get a little tweet notification.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. Are you guys on Twitter or Instagram?
We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on SoundCloud. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we hit all the social media that we can.
Okay, and how's that going for you? How would somebody say follow you on Twitter? Is there some connection?
Well, we have links on our website to all of our social media, and I posted in the chat a while ago a link to our Facebook page. We get a lot of everything kind of through Facebook as a big way that we communicate with people, and it's a big way that we share everything. But all of our videos are on YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talk about dogs. What about cats? Do they? I know we got some cat lovers out there, Jade. our moderator, Jade. She is frequently attacked by a cat on her keyboard while she's running the live chat over there. Well, do they got souls?
I don't know. I don't have any experience with cats.
Well, one of the homes we were investigating.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, we were in the dark, and Kelly saw an orb, and then she felt what felt like a cat passing by, and she asked me, she said, does the gentleman in this house have cats? And I said, I don't think so, not that I've ever seen. Well, when we asked him later on, there were 2 previous owners ago that actually kept like 20 cats in there. And he does see quite a bit of these flashing lights, kind of at cat level. Mm-hmm. So, is it a spirit? Is it a soul? I'm not sure, but it definitely seems like there's, some kind of presence from animals.
Mm-hmm. And I have seen, and we can say dogs, but there are also videos of elephants that are clearly sad. They cry when a fellow elephant dies, and then there's, various other animal things that indicate that there's emotions within them. Now, would we say that they are a part of God is within them?
Oh, I think so. I mean, they're all His creation, so why wouldn't a part of Him be in them?
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea what happens to you on the other side? We've been communicating with those that have departed. Have they given you any clue? Are they happy over there? Are they, they have something to do? What does the spirit do? He just walk around, or?
Mike.
So that's a Mike question.
Again, we're really not sure where they are. In fact, we're not sure if they know where they are. But a lot of our EVP communications, do tend to be kind of sorrowful, kind of sad, regretful almost. And I don't know if that's a factor that plays into these spirits that don't move on, that there's something they didn't finish, that they feel like, that they've got to complete. But we do get a lot of EVPs that indicate sorrow and sadness, and not really knowing where they are, which is very sad.
Mm. Well, I've said this to a number of people that have, in the course of a conversation, they start complaining, and life's problems are relative. I don't really know how anybody, particularly in this country, could complain. I mean, suppose you lived in Iraq, where every town is blown up and there's no grass or trees anywhere, and then all you got people running around with Humvees stolen from the U.S. government or provided by the U.S. government, blasting people. I mean, they got a right to complain. But anyway, so I'm over here, in my sphere, my walk, my circle, and then somebody start complaining, and I'll say, you know what? All you got to do is drive past the graveyard, because them people down in the hole, they'd love to come up out of there and have your problems, but instead they can't move. They got bugs eating their eyes. They got water dripping in there. Their skin's falling off. They would love to have whatever problems we have. So sometimes people need to put things in perspective about what their problems are, and really not be so critical of their life, things that happen to them, because, again, it is relative, and certainly bad things do happen. But will you guys think bad things happen for a reason, or are they just they're just coincidental?
Oh, Lord. I mean, I think only God really knows that. I mean, we always think when bad things happen, it's easy to say, how can you let this happen? But I'm of the personal belief that everything does happen for a reason, good and bad. We just don't always know what it is. Mm-hmm. That's just my personal belief.
Mm-hmm. Michael, where do you think dreams come from?
I think a large part of our dreams are our own minds playing out, but I do believe that, that if the spirit world wants to connect into that, now this hasn't happened to me personally, But I believe that the spiritual world wants to tune into your dreams. I believe they can. We've talked to too many people that have stories about parents coming back and telling them something in their dreams and then actually finding out, they really happen. Mm-hmm. So, I think the Bible speaks about, God actually going into dreams of people to give them messages. So I definitely think, the spiritual world can tune in to our dreams.
Kelly, that picture you put in the live chat, is that an angled picture of a person in a hallway?
We don't know what that is. We were on a World War II battleship. We caught that image, and we can't explain it. There was nothing there that should have caused that. We were on this battleship all the time. We spent 12 hours locked down there at night.
Wow.
We don't know what it is. I'm hoping that it's some type of World War II era fire control or diving type suit. But if it isn't, it's a little creepy because we can't explain it.
Mm. Well, creepy is as creepy does, man. But there is. That's one of my deep philosophical statements right there.
Hey, that works. We might use that.
Creepy is as creepy does. But no, okay. What causes hair to raise up on the back of one's neck when one is shocked out of their mind with fear? What is that?
I don't know. It's like an electricity that comes on you when a spirit comes through you. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the electromagnetic energy or what it is, but it's definitely something that when you feel it, you can't ignore it.
And, there also may be a part of our brain at one point that was in tune more to the spiritual. And as time went by and the world became more modern, mm-hmm. probably we were taught not to pay attention to those feelings. We're mm-hmm. probably taught not to see those worlds because they really didn't benefit us in the material world.
Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of reminds me of the kind of the saying. It says that it goes like this. It goes like the reason Baptists will go to heaven first because the Bible says the dead in Christ shall rise first. And so, and it's just kind of a little tongue-in-cheek slam at a Baptist, because they're kind of considered more the unspiritual part of Christianity. They and I always say they have their bean suppers and stuff. They have their way downs and their basket weavings and their artwork. I mean, it's just it's more or less a social club in a lot of cases. And a lot of churches are, but they don't seem. And it seems like you would think that there's got to be something spiritual. If they feel like there's nothing going on. But I think we're saying in this program right here with you guys tonight, you're saying that there is a spiritual world out there, and at some point, I think humans lost that connectivity into the spirit realm, which is a part. And talking about the hair raising on the back of one's neck, it does seem that humans were built with something, whether it's a radar or something that says there's an activity going on, and we were built that way. And that type, and it goes on to say then, what else have we pushed down in over the eons of time besides the alert system that may be the only thing left that is an organic connection to spiritual activity that we have, although we can say we can see things, but maybe it was much bigger than that, and we had more senses than the 5 senses they say we have now.
Absolutely. It's fascinating. And we found that a lot of small children tend to be the first ones
and
to
dogs.
see and pets, animals tend to be the first ones to see these. So it makes you wonder as we get older, as we develop, does that be, do we tune that out more, or are mm-hmm. we taught not to look for those?
Mm-hmm. Well, then would you guys say that you're trying to reverse that trend? You are trying to reactivate the spiritual connection? And I mentioned the Indians. I think, certainly the white man ruined it for them. They took all their spiritual things away and then said they were demons and they had to learn English and put their kids in school and put white man's clothes on them and then told them they got to work 40 hours a week and get a mortgage. I mean, man, how depressing is that?
I definitely think if you can get someone to look at something and say to themselves, maybe there is something beyond here, then that's going to open up a whole doorway of questions, who's in charge of that? How do I increase my position when I get there? What's it going to be like? I think those are all very hopeful questions to ask yourself and beneficial because, getting in touch with that spiritual side starts you down a path, hopefully, to where, you can be comfortable with a religion, whatever that religion is that you choose.
Yeah. What do we have here, Kelly? Are you looking at the picture?
Which picture?
Looks like bites.
That is my husband's hand. That is the only time that we've ever run across anything that was that hurt us. And it's a very personal story. I was estranged from my mother for 25 years, and after she died, my daughter came into possession of a journal she had written that was full of hatred and bad things. And she brought it to our home at Christmas, which I'm still not sure why she did that. She ended up leaving it here. Well, within 24 hours of her leaving it here, my husband got scratched 2 or 3 times. And we ended up having to take it out to the barbecue grill and, burn it. Mm-hmm. And since we did that, we haven't had any problems.
Wow. And so what do you think caused that, Michael?
I'm not sure. I know that there was a series of events. I got scratched. I know we had some electrical equipment fail on us. I know we had some deaths occur close to us, and we just started looking at each other and we said, "There's way too much stuff adding up here all at once. We've got to think about this. What changed?" And we started thinking about our investigations. Did we go somewhere? And we're always careful when we leave, to pray, and we always make sure we say, "You're not permitted to follow us home. Go to Christ and be at peace." And so we're always really careful with that. So the only thing we could figure was that it was this journal, which was just laden with guilt and just hatred. It was just horrible writing, and so I just feel like that negativity was in there.
All right, so the journal is a physical object. So are we suggesting that an entity impregnated itself within the pages of the book or the journal?
Yes, the hatred was sewn into every bit of that book, and that's us spirits a lot of times gain connection to the living through items like that. Just bringing an antique home from the antique store might have consequences that you may not realize.
Well, I've heard people say that buying things from South America or places or New Orleans even, where there's white and black magic, that they're just around those areas, and so then it is that something evil on the other side can attach itself to objects. So what would happen, say, if you took the journal and you threw holy water on it? You think that would have done anything, or you think you'd burn it, had to dissolve it completely?
We did put holy water on it, and we did prayers over it before we burned it to make sure that it would stay gone.
Michael, so you were that is a single event that you had that something crossed over and attacked you. Have you had any dreams about that or anything like that since you guys burned the book? Have you been completely free of that?
It's funny. That was one of the things that started this. We both, and it's very rare for me ever to have nightmares, but I did have a nightmare, and she simultaneously had a nightmare.
We had the same nightmare.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, it was similar.
Similar.
Yeah. And that kind of alerted us to it. And plus there were personal issues there where I was kind of the blame for a lot of the harm that was done, and taking her away and things like that. So I kind of felt like I was the recipient of all that negative energy.
In your guys' research, have you felt like you are now more aware of spiritual things around? Do you feel like you are exercising your perception of spiritual activities? Do you feel like you've increased and where you now can see things that have been going on all along and you now can tune into that? Or is it still a spotty type of thing and you go
Yes, very much so. I definitely feel that I'm more sensitive than I was before I started this. And the reason why I can say that definitively is because we were hunting in a 75-year-old funeral home that is quite active, and all of a sudden, while we were sitting there conducting a echo box session, I said, is there a German man here? I just knew in my mind there was a German man there, and we actually picked up the German language on the recording. And we were able to confirm with 2 different people that there was German being spoken. And the lady that actually owns the facility was there with us, and she had no clue that there was a German man there.
So, do you guys ever plan on trying to get to somewhere, say, like Auschwitz or anything, any larger venues like that? Or is there so much going on around here it's going to keep you busy a long time?
Well, sadly, we have to work for a living, so it's really difficult for us to get too awful far. Of course, we'd love to go to all of these various places. We mean no disrespect to the people who lost their lives there. But, we try to hit as many of them as we can. But honestly, we found in our travels, in our adventures, that these areas that everybody says should be so haunted or that are tourist meccas because they're haunted aren't nearly as haunted as a tiny little rural cemetery sitting out in the middle of the farmer's field.
And that, along those lines, let me ask you: if you go to a haunted cemetery, or maybe say a haunted hotel, and they're charging to take tours through there, do the ghosts know that's going on and they don't like it, and can it make them leave as a result, or do you think the human activity can't really, no matter even if somebody's, making a living out of that, of selling the ghost being present, does that in any way affect their activity in a place, certain place?
I don't know. I don't think they like it to a certain extent. We have a local legend down here that some of y'all may have heard of, Alice Flagg. She's supposedly buried in a cemetery on the south end of the beach. She's not there, but that's where everyone thinks she is. And every time we go there, we catch EVPs, electronic voice phenomena from the surrounding, that they're very upset that people come to see Alice Flagg's grave, which is empty, and no one comes to see them. Wow. So I know they're aware of, I think they have some of the same emotions, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that we do, of jealousy and being forgotten and that sort of thing.
Wow.
And I personally do believe that they are resentful of being exploited, and we're real careful not to do that. Unfortunately, some of these sites that we want to get in, we've got to pay money to get into them, and that's about as far as we'll go. We won't take money for tours or anything like that, and we won't ever take a penny for investigating, because I think that's where you start to get in to the part that the Bible talks about. When you start gaining material gain, you start getting fame out of it or power, I think that's where you start to get into a slippery slope, and you could easily end up, crossing the side, the bad side.
I was looking at a car that was for sale, and it was way below current value, and I asked the guy, I said, why are you selling it so low? He said, well, because my wife died in it, and when I look out there, many times she's still sitting in it. So I'm trying to get it out.
Oh, wow.
So I'm thinking, oh, great. That's what I want to see. I want to have a car with your dead wife in there, man. I mean, I'm sorry. that's some spooky crap right there, man.
That would not be fun to drive around in a car that's haunted by somebody else.
Maybe she'd be a good co-pilot for you.
Or maybe it could be Christine all over again.
Hey, here's a question for you. Is Ohio more haunted than other places because they have the serpent mounds there?
Everybody likes to say that their state is the most haunted. We've heard a lot about Ohio. We've never been to Ohio, although we do have a team in Ohio that we're friends with that hunts there. Personally, the states that we've been in, I'd have to say that South Carolina and Georgia really hit the... you can't go anywhere in Georgia or South Carolina without finding somebody somewhere.
Man, that's a busy state for the undead, huh?
It sure is. I mean, think of all the Revolutionary War, Civil War, all the Indians that lived here before then. I mean, there's a lot of history in these two states.
Do ghosts in general wear clothes?
I hope so. I don't want to see a naked ghost.
You don't want to see a naked ghost? Well,
no.
Michael, what about you? You'd rather not see a naked ghost?
Be careful how you answer. I'm listening.
Well, I guess there wouldn't be any proof, would there?
Wow. Man.
The only one that I've ever seen full body apparition was dressed in full on colonial militia attire.
Mm-hmm.
We do catch photos sometimes where, they are wearing clothing, but a lot of times, they're missing their legs. There's not a head or, part of their body's missing. But it's funny you should say that because, now that I think about it, most of them are always clothed.
Well, if I'm going to be a ghost, I want to have my clothes on.
But didn't somebody, a famous person, once say, "Free at last, free at last, free at last"? Weren't you talking about living a life with no clothes?
I don't think that's what he was talking about.
No.
I tell you, I'd like to personally investigate that myself. So if anything comes along, let me know.
Well, now to that, there is something called what's that called? There's ghosts that like they rape people.
Incubus and succubus. Those aren't ghosts. Those are demons.
They naked.
Yeah, well, those are demons. Those aren't ghosts.
So
you asked about ghosts.
Okay, so incubus, succubus, demons. So how do you know then to tell the difference between a demon and a dead person? You're saying there's a difference, right?
There's a huge difference. A demon is a spirit that was never human. It's from hell. Whereas a ghost is the spirit of a person that once walked and lived on this earth.
But so you've never interacted with the demon that you know? I mean, wouldn't they, by nature, be deceptive on the order of Hillary Clinton? I mean, just total liars and lie to you to say they're one thing?
Yes, and we do take precautions. When we enter a location, we always say, if you don't accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, speak up now. And that's something a priest told us to say. Mm-hmm. We did get an answer one time. We were at a cemetery, and we said, who watches over these children? There was a cemetery of children, and it said the devil, and we left.
Yeah, and remember, every knee has to bend to the name of Jesus Christ, and we definitely use that and subscribe to that. If they're there, they've got to reveal themselves to who we consider our king. And you look for things like bad smells and aversion to religious objects. And, there's a list of things that you want to look for if you're encountering a demon.
Well,
Fortunately, we haven't had any of that. So,
well, how would clothes be able to exist in the supernatural realm?
Perhaps memory. Perhaps it's the memory of what they were wearing when they died. I mean, truthfully, we don't know. That's what cracks me up about a lot of these people that proclaim to be paranormal experts. No one's an expert. It's not something that you can become an expert in until you die and cross the barrier, and then you learn for yourself.
What do you guys think shadow people are? Have you heard of that term, and what do you think they are?
I don't know. We actually caught a picture of one recently at the USS North Carolina in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's an area that's just darker than the places around it. I mean, if you've ever seen one, we also caught a video of one at a cabin that we were staying in last summer in Asheville, North Carolina. It wasn't supposed to be haunted, but apparently either we brought it with us or it's haunted and they didn't realize it.
Yikes. Wow.
It was kind of creepy because it was creeping around the living room while we were sound asleep.
Hey, man, if there's something creeping around, I'm out of there. So, how'd you catch it?
We caught that on video.
So instead of a Pokemon Go, it's a shadow person
Shadow Man Go.
We're a little strange. When we go to stay places, when we go to bed, we're probably the only people that set up IR cameras while we're sleeping.
Just in case.
Yeah, and we set up an IR camera, and something crossed in front of the IR light, and you can definitely see the shadow, and there are only two of us in the cabin.
So you guys take, wherever you go, you take cameras?
Oh, absolutely.
And do you set them up at night? I mean, I've seen some videos where people have cameras set up, and they've caught things like coming in and out of doors and stuff.
Oh, yeah. We've stayed in a lot of different places where we've caught strange lights and anomalies that we just simply can't explain. We were in a haunted bed and breakfast in St. Augustine, Florida, and we caught the very tail of a ghost cat. And we didn't realize that she had a cat, the lady that's supposed to haunt this place, until we were talking with the innkeeper the next morning, and he said that she had a cat in that room. So, I mean, there's just too much that we've seen and heard and experienced that there's definitely something else out there. We're just not sure what it is.
All right. I have this question. It says, have you been to Cross Hill, Greenwood, South Carolina?
Cross Hill.
Yeah, it says Cross Hill, Greenwood, South Carolina. It says that they're noted for their Masonic monuments. And by nature, do Masonic monuments, is there activities from them? Because a lot of people say that in general, Masons are doing some conjuring of their own. And so therefore they're already involved with that type of thing.
I don't know. We really haven't run into any Masonic monuments. We did have the opportunity to hunt in a Masonic temple, and that was very interesting. But we didn't.
What happened in there?
The basement was used back in the 1800s to as a place for yellow fever. Was it the 1900s?
Yeah, 1900s.
For the yellow fever victims, and it was pretty intense down there.
Yeah, Joshua Warren has his museum down in the basement there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Joshua Warren. I think we're trying to get him on the show.
Yeah. You have to ask about his museum down in the Masonic Temple.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. A question. Have you ever helped any spirits to cross over?
I don't think that we would know if we did. I mean, we've certainly tried. We've certainly asked spirits, would you like us to say a prayer for us? What prayer can we say for you? What can we do for you? So, I mean, I'd like to hope, but I think it would be very arrogant to say that, yes, we have.
There have been places where we've gone where we've had activity before, and then we get nothing. And, it is kind of frustrating, because you knew you were getting such great evidence, and then all of a sudden it's like you go the next 5 times and there's nothing. So you wonder, maybe they said what they had to say, and they just wanted someone to pay attention to them, and that's all they needed. And
have you ever? You mentioned, and I've seen this. You talk about ghost shows. I've seen some of those shows that say that when there's a manifestation, the entity drains the electrical gear, typically batteries. Have you guys ever deliberately set some batteries out, like bait, say, to try to power them up?
Yes.
How'd that work out for you?
It seems like it really works well. We actually use something called an EM pump. It pumps out electromagnetic waves, and I feel like it does make a difference when we take it to locations that we do see increased activity.
Has any of those entities ever recharged a battery?
Unfortunately, no. I wish they would. That takes up the longest part of, I think people don't understand when you're a paranormal investigator, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of charging equipment. It's a lot of maintaining the equipment, dumping evidence. Michael is the one who has to go through hours and hours and hours of sometimes mind-numbing audio, listening to birds singing and frogs chirping and all kinds of wonderful things. So people don't realize it's nothing like what you see on TV at all.
Mm-hmm. It seems, and I think you mentioned this first hour, and I think it's a truism that everyone probably has a ghost story in their history. They know of someone or something happened in their own family that cannot be explained. How much of reality do you think exists in, say, a percentage of non-seen things? I mean, I think the Bible says that the things that are not seen are more real than the things that are. That tells me that there's maybe a vast expanse of paranormal or supernatural things that exist. So how much do you think we'll ever be able to tap into? It sounds like we're kind of working around the edges with the kind of the ghost hunt and things. Is there a larger entry or crossing over or knowledge of or communication with that realm?
I think so, yes, but I think there's just things that we're not meant to know. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the rules. I mean, I really think there's a lot of it that we're just not meant to know and that we'll never know. Mm-hmm. until we cross over ourselves. I think, it says in the Bible, blessed are they who believe and do not see. So I think that's part of, it's easy to have faith if you get to see all these things and it's in your face, but if it's not and you're having to believe without seeing it, it means a lot more. So I really believe that we're just not going to know a lot of this until we go ourselves.
So, Michael,
having said that, I'm sorry. Having said that, I was thinking there are some fascinating studies going on in the area of physics, so that I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if some of these things don't play in to the paranormal as they start to uncover it. How much of that will be revealed, I don't know, but I think there are some things with physics that are going to shed some light on the paranormal.
Unified field theory.
And one of the explanations that I use of something that can be tangible for somebody to understand the vastness of our universe is that helium. If you put helium into a solid steel can, it will evaporate. And you think, well, how can anything get out of that solid steel can? Well, the reason is the helium molecule is smaller than or hydrogen. I'm sorry, not helium, but hydrogen. The molecule is smaller than the gap between the molecules of the can. So, everything actually is hollow. And when you get down to the smallest particles, when you get into the quark range, scientists can't determine what's in between the space of the quarks and what keeps them in their place. There's something out there. Now the Bible says that He holds all things together by the power of his words. So there is a connectivity to everything, but there's also realms and understandings that are so vast. And you mentioned yourself that we may not be able to understand, but it does say that we should search matters out, at least search what God has allowed us, or the Spirit of God will allow us to know. He just doesn't give us that information right up front. I think God actually likes a searchable heart, a heart that is searching and that is seeking. I mean, it plainly says, if you seek, you shall find. So there's a whole lot of people that aren't seeking, saying, no, don't seek, don't seek, because that's bad. That can be bad. Don't seek, but their lives are miserable and they have no spirituality going on at all.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's fascinating. If you were to line up 10 physicists and ask them, what is time, you'd probably get 10 different answers from them. So there are a lot of things that they're still trying to study. But I agree with you 100%.
Kelly, we're getting near the end of the broadcast, so I'm going to try to go a little bit further with this, just kind of in a general sense. But what have you learned since you guys have established Phasma Paranormal? Where are you at? And do you see where you're heading? What? Tell me about your life. Where are you going with this?
Well, all I can tell you is that our adventures have brought us closer together as husband and wife. I think that there's so much more in our future, but I think the more that we learn, the more that we realize we have no clue about. I mean, there's so many mysteries out there, and all the myth and legend. There's bases of truth in each one of those stories. I mean, sure, there's Bigfoot. Has anyone ever caught one? No. But where did that legend come from? There's something more to it. So I really believe that we're just going to keep searching and keep looking. And more important than anything, we're going to keep glorifying God, and we're going to keep having fun, and we're just going to do what we do. And if people choose to believe us, great. And if not, well, we're not really doing it for them. We're doing it for the glory of God anyway.
Michael, can you answer that question as well?
Excuse me. Like you said before, it's the journey. We have been to so many amazing places. I felt so privileged to stay in some of these locations and some of these sites that we've gone to. Indian mounds, battleships, the destroyer Laffey. It's just a privilege to be there. And then the people we've met. I can just fill volumes of the wonderful people and the stories they have to tell. And we got to meet you tonight. And it just, it leads us constantly to these places, these people, and it's so fulfilling. In the end, if you catch the paranormal, fantastic. But along the way, I've realized that the adventure along the way has been fantastic.
It's interesting. I kind of like to know the husband-wife angle of these types of things, because I have had guests on the program that typically the guest would be a male, a male, and then many times they'll say that the wife doesn't really doesn't go like say go on ghost hunts or doesn't really look into this or doesn't look into the sky or doesn't really, it's like, man, it's almost like sad to me because like, man, you almost like, you on a journey yourself, and man, a journey is not good unless you have somebody with you that is enjoying that journey with you. So it's really nice to hear you guys say that. So Kelly, you saying that's keeping you guys are getting deeper together and knowing each other even deeper and more love, I guess, through this, eh?
I believe so, yes. I believe it strengthened our faith in our marriage.
Wow.
We have a lot of fun. We see amazing things, some of them paranormal, some of them not. We meet some amazing people like y'all and all your wonderful guests. So, I mean, even if we don't go any further with the paranormal, everything we've done is just a huge adventure, and it's something that we'll always remember and always talk about, and it's just a priceless experience.
Okay. Well, I got your logo in our background. Once again, guys, what can the viewers find on your website, and what's the reason they'd want to contact you?
They can contact us to get an investigation. They can contact us with questions or to share stories or whatever they want to talk about. We'll be more than happy to talk about it. We have links on there to all of the places we've stayed. We have links on there to all of our social media. We have prayers you can download. If you need to request medals to be sent to you, we will happily do that as well.
Medals? What's that?
Holy medals. St. Michael, St. Benedict.
And what do these do for a person?
Well, I mean, it's not the actual medal that does it, but it's the faith. But we have sent these to some clients who are experiencing severe troubles, and they're nowhere near us. One lady was in Kentucky, I believe. We sent the prayers and the medals, and we prayed for her, and she did experience, the entity did leave her after we did all this, and through God's intercession.
Wow. Very nice, very nice. All right, Kelly and Michael Brusky, appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast. Can we have you on again sometime?
Thank you. We hope you'll have us back. We had so much fun tonight. You're awesome.
It's been an honor to be on your show, sir.
Oh man, don't call me sir. I'm just no cowboy.
That's a Southern thing. We say sir and ma'am.
But I appreciate your vote because I am running for president of the Cowboys of America Party.
We'll vote for you.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, stay safe out there in Conway, South Carolina, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. God bless.
Good night.
Bye-bye.